We are live. This is the Not a Podcast Show. It's a live stream. I am your host, Sean Ongley. Today's guest is Christian Ricketts. He is a comedian based in San Diego. I knew him in Portland. He was on this show a year ago, and we'll kind of catch up, I guess, over this next hour about the last year. You know the drill. I want likes and subscribes and shares and links connected via the bio so that we can trade value for value. All right, that's groovy stuff. So do all that. I appreciate you. Especially if you're already a subscriber and you are one of the like dozen or two that actually kind of seem to steadily watch this thing. And then the people that come in as viewers for the guest, both of you I appreciate, but especially the ones that have subscribed. So there's not a whole lot to say. There's always way too much to say, but I'm going to withhold any kind of weird commentary because I really don't have a lot. My mind is blank. It's not a clean slate. It's a busy one. It's not some Zen perfect, clean, fresh, higher self mind in which there's peace and no conflict or anger or hostility toward the madness of the world that we live in. No, it's all there. I just have nothing to say about it at the moment. And today's guest, Christian Ricketts, again, was here a year ago, knew him over a decade ago when I did my little dance with stand-up comedy and admired him there. Very interested to hear how it's going, reestablishing in San Diego. I feel that I'm doing a similar parallel thing in life, not similar directly, but just I decided to reestablish myself creatively in the city of Philadelphia. I'm not from here, though. I believe Ricketts is from San Diego, born and raised. We're going to confirm those facts right now with Christian Ricketts. Hello, Christian. How are you?
Hey, Sean. How's it going?
Confirm or deny. Are you from San Diego, born and raised?
Yeah, might as well. I moved around a bit as a kid, but for the most part, yeah, I'm here. I was born in El Centro, which is 100 or so miles east of San Diego, out in the desert. If you want to get really technical.
Right. But sometimes you just tell people to keep it simple. Right. When somebody asks where you're from, what do you say? Do you say El Centro, 200 miles?
Fuck no. Yeah, I used to be like that. Somebody would ask me where I'm from, and I would just take way too long and be like, well, I was a military brat, so I grew up, and I lived in North Carolina for 3 years, and just like, what a bore.
Yes.
Yeah, I just say San Diego. Fuck it.
Yeah, I'll say LA, and that's a pretty fictional. It's either because Santa Barbara is too people have the wrong idea if they know about it. About me, they'll get a different idea about me, right? Santa Barbara. Hello. But like
Santa Barbara guys. You know those Santa Barbara. You can tell by that accent.
He's a trust fund kid. He must just be getting paid.
Well, it's expensive as shit now, though. I mean, I don't know what Santa Barbara was like when you were younger. Maybe it was more friendly for working class wages.
Yes, but at the same time, it was a more expensive place. I feel like San Diego's gone through the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
What's it like? How are you getting by there? Are you getting by okay? You skating by credit cards? How are you making it work?
I just usually use manifestation,
pure
positive
manifestation.
vibes. I purely manifest one situation to the next. I just plan on doing this until I just glide to a gentle death. Not going to use Social Security, not going to live in a home. I'm just going to drift from one situation to the next. I'm subletting right now, and it's a pretty good price on the sublet. And yeah,
that's good. Those kinds of rental deals are always fun to talk about.
Yeah, the past couple of years, I've been living out of a suitcase, so to speak, bouncing around, pretty nomadic. So
I've been tempted to do that. I'd have to really unroot. But,
yeah.
It's not so bad for me here. It's kind of, it's pretty good. I'm not, but it's not about me.
No, it's not about you. It's about me.
It's about Christian Ricketts.
This show is about me. This is about
Yeah, it's about you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a year ago, you were starting to. And by the way, anybody, we're not gonna, we're gonna pick up from that. Like, if you want to get to know, I'm sure that I got more into like your life and history in that one. We're just gonna pick
Mhm.
up. So, I recommend people go check that episode out at from the link in bio. Um. So anyway, a
I
year.
don't recommend that.
Yeah, don't watch it.
I mean, yeah, watch it. It's just like I think compared to now compared to then, my confidence is definitely up. My direction's clear, and yeah, I don't even remember much of what we talked about then. But
Not specifically me either, but I know that that's nice. I love it. All right, so there was like I've been watching your Instagram posts. That's a good way to judge. You're posting like open mic moments, showcase moments,
mhm.
and I see that like I recognize material that I remember
Mhm.
that you were rerunning, bringing right back up,
Yeah.
and I've been re-releasing music or actually getting it out on like streaming services from that era too, like back to
Mhm.
2009. It's like I have a lot of to catch up with is what it feels like for me.
Yeah.
To get like my body of work back together so I can move forward from it, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. Does that relate?
Yeah. Yeah. Because normally I would think, out of pride, oh, I shouldn't have any old stuff, and especially don't share it on there. But it's like I've never shared any of these old bits before, and I I kind of want to. If I share it, then I'm burning it, and even if only a few people see it, in a sense, I'm like, all right, I'm putting it to rest, and I burn that, and then that'll force me to generate more stuff. And I think some of those older things that you saw were generally like associated with characters I used to do. It's like I would do this old man character who was like mostly would tell like racist Irish jokes, and
Right.
and I don't do that a lot. It was just like around
What's
Halloween.
what's the race of the old man, by the way?
Oh, he's just an old white guy, probably a WASP. You would just consider him like a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant old man, kind of typical, because that's who would be making, you know, racist jokes about the Irish from 100 years ago. The original premise I wanted to do was old man with head wound, but I was, younger and maybe like less compassionate or something. I never ended up doing that back in the day. I just gave him some name. Um, and it was just an excuse to do this voice that I'm amused with and be silly and stuff, and also fill time on shows I'm booked on and not have to try and write normal stand-up material, which is more difficult than doing silly character stuff. Because character stuff, the perspective is just baked into it, and it'll be very simple. My own perspective, I have to like go to an ashram for a month or something to figure out my own fucking perspective.
And make it
Um,
funny.
and make it funny. Yeah, because like sometimes a person will I'll start getting into, well, what is my own perspective? And I'll get bogged down and just kind of
Eh,
existential diatribe and stuff, or martyrdom and things like that. So that's also a work in progress. I'm not entirely negative about it. But out here in San Diego, it was around Halloween, and there was this mic that it's a pretty good mic. It's at American Comedy Company. Always good shows there, and but it's a blind raffle, so sometimes you have to sit there for a really long time to get up. And I'm like, I don't necessarily want to do that. Around Halloween, though, it's like you're guaranteed a spot if you show up in costume. And I'm like, I'm just going to show up in this character that I used to do. And I had like a bandage made. So it like had like like blood stained. So I could do the old man with head wound and go up in front of there. And then it's just racist Irish jokes. It's just, to me, I like the idea of somebody not expecting any of this and seeing their reaction. And
how did
there's
that go?
something. It went good. Um, it's fun.
Because it's context so much
mm,
matters when it comes to the characters.
yeah.
A character can not go off. It could definitely not go well.
Oh, that absolutely happened. There was a character I used to do, and I tried it current up here in San Diego. It was like used to be a San Diego character that I would do in Portland, just to make fun of my own roots in a way. And it was his name was Jason Kyle Brandon, and he's just supposed to be just like a bro character. And I tried it at this showcase, but and I was brought up as like the funniest comic in San Clemente, and because San Clemente doesn't really have that much of a comedy scene, just a couple open mics, and people really thought I was like a genuine just a shitbag from that town. I don't think they thought it was a character at any point. So they're just like, this guy sucks. We hate this type of guy. I was like, hey guys, what's up? What's good? What's good, player? Like a hat down over my eyes, and I had my pants sagged and kind of thing or whatever.
Right.
But it's pretty experimental.
Whereas
But
in Portland, people can sense the irony on that.
they sense the irony like immediately. In San Diego, you're just like, yeah, that guy works at Jiffy Lube. He changed my oil. You know.
So you brought back the Western guy.
Yeah, I thought I can bring that back, but with a better context. I have like good cowboy boots now. I didn't wear cowboy boots in the past, and I do this cowboy character. And doing like a
What did you
Western
wear?
cowboy character is not original at all. Lots of people do it. Rory Scovel will be on stage, kind of talking in a dumb Southern drawl to amuse himself. Um, but I wanted to do it because I like there's a couple like extra things I wanted to add to it to flesh it out, and then just to see if it worked, just for my own experimental reasons. So um, I started doing that character again because I like the idea that he's running for office and he's on a campaign, political campaign, but to save money, instead of renting out venues,
He's
he's doing local comedy shows because they're for free, and he's trying to run as mayor. You could say mayor of, and then pick any town that's east of San Diego or north that is associated with rednecks or something, because that'll just be a punchline. And I didn't realize that's cheap, but I'm trying to make him. He's like, I'm an outlaw. I'm an outlaw politician. It's time for us to get some outlaw around here. Kind of outlaw country singer style.
okay.
Um, and yeah, and I have like a nice
See,
bolo tie now, and I'm like, my voice is deeper than it used to be,
it's
and I
that
brought
Peter
it back,
Stockby.
and it's just a lot of fun. And it really is just. It's not about trying to be necessarily create something that's entirely original. Again, cowboy characters aren't that original. For me, it's like genuinely an alter ego because that's my family's roots. My family's pretty country. We're kind of redneckish. My dad likes to say we're Westerners. The nice version of saying we're rednecks. But I just come from that stock. Like
Yeah.
listen to country music growing up.
Okay.
If I'm out working in the yard with my dad or something, I go up to help them at their house. My dad always puts on like a cowboy hat. My dad, that the cowboy hat that I wear with the character was my dad's cowboy hat when he worked as a cowboy. When he was a late teens, early 20s, he was literally a cowboy. So
So you go.
I just
The
yeah. So
energy's under the hat.
yeah, the energy's under the hat, and
If I did a
eh,
trucker, if I did a trucker character, that would be like close to my father was not like that though. My dad was the artsy, like kind of black sheep. The rest of them, truckers or
mhm,
mechanics, were both.
yeah.
Uh,
It's fun because
hold on.
I get to express another dimension of my personality that isn't always there.
What was the intention before? Because I just remember how that went off at Suki's, and the
Hmm.
context was everything because it crushed. It blew the whole room, and uh, no, it didn't blow the whole room. uh, but
Thanks.
it went off very well, and I think because it seemed like you were making fun of stand-up comedy by using a Western character to sort of demonstrate the form of it
Hmm.
in a very like blunt way. That
Yeah,
seemed to be the whole goal of it. That was my take.
yeah. It started off where I would do this bit where I would go on stage and I would have everything that I'm saying is scripted, which I also brought that back, but I added more stuff to it.
Right.
So I'll have these character things, but now it's like they've got each one has an extra dimension to it that I didn't have in the past, and that's been a lot of fun. So I used to do this clipboard character thing. So I just read verbatim like a comedy set, but it's full of like non sequiturs, garden path sentences. Yeah, it's all it's like just beating you over the head with meta comedy. I'm like so blatantly meta. And and then as a part of the script, I say, "Oh no, I forgot something. I have to go. I'll be right back." And then I take a tape recorder out of my pocket. I play it. I put the microphone up to it, and it picks up where I left off. And so the set is continuing when I'm not there. So then I leave and I go put on a mustache and a cowboy hat and I go in the audience and I start to heckle the tape recorder. And I'm like, "Get that fucking robot out of here. This is bullshit. You're taking motherfucker," and the tape recorder's like, "You think this is so easy? Why don't you try?" I'm like, "I think I will." And he goes up on stage and he like tells a couple jokes. "This shit's pretty easy. Fuck you, robot." That was like the first time I did that, and then that was funny because I'm like, it just started off as like a rowdy roadshow kind of heckling a comic, getting on stage, being funnier than the comic, that kind of dynamic. So it came out of that. So then I dropped the tape recorder thing and all that other stuff, and then I just started doing, because another comic had told me like, "Oh, Ron Lynch, he uses a tape recorder on stage, therefore you can't do it." Which looking back, I shouldn't have listened to that at all.
Yeah.
I don't think Ron Lynch would care. Lots of people do this alternative shit. Whatever. The,
Yeah.
the very idea of getting on stage and talking as yourself and making similes and
Right.
metaphors
Yeah.
is, lots of people have thought of it. We're all hacks from that. Anyways,
When people do innovate, it's noticed, and yeah, it's but
yeah, you're
after
just
that, we just follow form because it's good.
yeah. So then, yeah, I started doing it as like a country character, but then I would still have a tape recorder with me, and on the tape recorder was a Kirkland brand how to do stand-up comedy audio tape series. So recorded in my normal voice. So he'd play the microphone and be like, "Hello, welcome to Stand Up Your Stand Up with Kirkland brand comedy albums." Whatever. He's a hick. He got it from Costco. Haha. Whatever. And then he'd be like, ask the audience how they're doing. "Hey folks, how you doing? All right, why don't you tell a story from your life?" "All right, I'm supposed to." So he's just dumbly following the instructions on the tape recorder, and that's where that came. Then eventually, I dropped the tape recorder, um, and I don't use it now with that character. Um,
So this is the way that it came back recently.
that's when I started doing it in the past, was like the tape recorder thing. So it evolved out of this one made a bit, turned into another made a bit, and then I'm like, there's like some comedy competition, and I'm like doing I'm doing different competition sets as this character, because there's the one like Lonnie Brune used to run, that was like all out in like east of Portland, like a Gresham type bars with a comedy competition happening inside of them, and so I would just do this cowboy thing. I would glue that fucking mustache on my face a couple times a week, and I did that for like a year. I mean, I was like, I'm sick of this. I can't. I kept wanting to change and do stuff that's new, so I wouldn't pigeonhole myself or just keep doing the same exact thing all the time.
Yeah.
Eventually, just accruing this bag of tricks.
Um,
I've heard that said. There's certain comics that'll be like a bag of tricks comic, or a comic who is always creating new stuff and abandoning old stuff. Um, I think I like to try and be both. I think the second one is, I would say, from an artistic standpoint, probably considered superior, but whatever. Like what Louis
okay.
C.K., Bill Burr, and those people do. George
What-
Carlin popularized. You do your hour, you burn it, you write a new one in a year or two.
That has become the standard form,
Mhm.
and some would say that the content is worse from that. Like just because that's what some genius did. Now
Yeah.
every mid rate, high level, high operating, but
Yeah.
there's a wide shelf of middle middle rate comics that are professionally doing their thing, and then there's some
Mhm.
geniuses down at the bottom who will never get to that level. And if you're just doing what these highly creative top performing artists do, then I think it's like it's imitative no matter what. Like you don't need to come up with a new hour there's some jokes that can last 15, 20 years.
I mean, if you're touring, then and you're not necessarily putting it online, then sure. I think there is. It is also looked down on though if somebody is using like stale old material from really too long ago. Maybe it's considered. Like, why don't you challenge yourself by getting rid of all the old stuff, and as a result, your voice will develop. Um, I think I lean more towards that way, thinking if that's probably the ideal. But also at the same time, like, who gives a shit? Like, um, I think the thing you don't want to fall into is somebody who created their feature set or created their headlining set and just does just that for the rest of their life, and then they'll be doing like 20-year-old jokes. And I've seen some comics at clubs and stuff, particularly those Harvey's comics.
The
Um,
Harveys. That's a very
yeah.
Portland reference.
Yeah, and they'll be
Um,
like, yeah, and you'll be able to tell because they're old ass references and stuff. It's like, remember on All in the Family? And they're like,
right. And then you need a I mean, a lot of audiences are
I
quite
feel like
happy.
chicken tonight. Anyone else? Like,
People don't remember like a young audience doesn't know things now but
no,
you see, if that is
they
your
don't.
audience,
They don't even know current things.
but then if your audience doesn't know the new things, they have a function in this world too, the hacks. So let them do it.
Sure.
They
Yeah,
can
just
keep
like
doing
just
cruise
like
ships.
maggots and beetles have a place in nature.
Sure.
They got to chew things up and break it down so it can
Squall
be
through
used
the
by,
dirt.
yeah, higher life forms depend on
200 nights in a Motel 6. That's
it. Hmm.
that's the life of a human beetle.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, musicians are like that. Really like just kind of playing. I find it fascinating how musicians will rewrite the same songs over and over. There's just like I think it's like, to me, in my mind, it's got to be 100-to-1 ratio of comedian to musician. So there's 100 more musicians per comedian. I
Hmm.
believe that.
But musicians are cooler.
Nah.
They're so much cooler.
Yeah,
Anything they do is
musicians are
cool.
total dorks. I mean, stand-up
Yeah, I've
comics
noticed
are
that too.
complete dorks. like,
They're
like
all
that is a
dorks.
fact. They're all dorks. No, you go to
Hmm.
the open mic, it's a bunch of dorks.
Yeah.
There's some cool guys that get up there, and gals, and whatever. But they, it's
Don't be
like,
so heteronormative.
yeah, it's
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 binary.
a it's a it's a scene of true outcasts. Musicians, a lot of them pretend to be outcasts. They are not.
Hmm.
They're cool. They're hip. They're
Yeah,
they're good looking. They're getting laid. Whatever.
some of them.
Some of
Some.
them. I'm not one of them. I, I'm not doing shows though. I'm not in like a band. But I don't know how much being in a band really helps you.
If you just talk less and be more of an asshole,
Yeah, you get
and
it.
you don't have to change anything musically, maybe, yeah,
But
seduce.
musicians, like, you go to an open mic in comedy, and you'll get a lot of hacky jokes. You'll get a
Hmm.
lot of people trying to do some shit that's just so derivative, it's so obvious, or they're just trying to like offer a perspective, not jokes. And I bring myself in all that. Like, there was so many times that I couldn't make a joke out of the perspective, and I was just trying to get something across. I did write some jokes, but then I would abandon them until it's like I'd have a new 3 minutes every 2 weeks. That didn't work. Um, half of it was most of it wasn't funny. So it, I am totally guilty of what I'm saying. Is like, I didn't focus on the craft, but musicians will rewrite songs over and over. You go to a music open mic, and the songs are just so obviously based on another musician.
Downtown guy, he's been looking around and wondering why. Like that one?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
like that one.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm
It
just
wasn't that funny.
no.
That's actually old. I wrote that 10 years ago, also. That's an old bit. I gotta drop that one.
Musicians have a choice to play songs that everybody knows and that'll make the crowd happy, and you're gonna have a fun time doing that. Comics can't do that. They can't just
Mhm.
play covers.
Yeah.
And
No.
it's now I would
Yeah,
rather a lot of
you
musicians
do
go
your
out and
yeah.
play covers because
Yeah.
they're trying to rewrite a song and they're doing it worse.
Yeah, you're the comedian's version of doing a cover, is being a hack, which is you're just kind of recycling a very tired, unoriginal observation, you know, like whatever,
Fucking
pick it like,
racism.
Taco Bell makes you have diarrhea, stuff like that.
I mean,
That's
airplane stuff.
Yeah, the airplane stuff is like the most obvious, immediate example, but there'd also be the other ones where it's like, I don't know. I'm sure we can all think of
Do
examples,
you think that there's some universal premises? So some like music has a form and you can recreate that form over and over and still find a lot of originality from it. There's like a setup that a lot of people use, which is if aliens were looking down and saw, that seems to be a setup that's widely used and
Mhm.
it's still used. Would you agree that you still see that setup? If,
In comedy.
yeah, if aliens were looking down and then you make your observation,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's a
You're looking at
common
the you're
form.
you're watching what the humans are doing.
It
You're
helps
like,
the audience
the
get out
humans.
of their mind in the present
Yeah,
and think of themselves as an
yeah,
observer.
yeah. I mean, well, yeah. A person will bring up some kind of thing. It's a relatable phenomenon socially. They offer their own perspective on it. The perspective has some kind of hyperbolic shift, which everybody else also recognizes the hyperbolic shift and the commonly experienced phenomenon. But it's preferably it'd be something that hasn't been expressed before, but is also at the same time commonly experienced, because that's like finding like a gold nugget in a river. And then you highlight the hyperbolic perspective that you're bringing to it with a simile or a metaphor.
There you go.
So it's just
There's
alchemy.
your form, gang.
Yeah, it's almost always simile and metaphor. Or if it's like a setup punchline kind of thing, it's also the element of surprise. So you're telling two stories. The first story leads people on, then you reveal a hidden second story that subverts the assumptions of the first one.
Right. Good.
You know,
Is this what you read in a book?
that was that was like verbatim, like or at least not verbatim, but that was how it was said. And when I started stand up, I had Greg Dean's guide to stand up comedy, step by step to stand up. Like the example of it was like, I got up and I went running this morning. That's because my girlfriend's husband got home. Haha. There we go. Two stories. First one, I'm a healthy person. Second one, no, I'm a home wrecker.
Hmm.
So, it's like, no, it's not hilarious. It's just there to demonstrate how it works. Um,
I like watching. Do you watch Better Call Saul?
yeah, yeah, it's great. I mean, Bob Odenkirk is just like a legend, and that's actually a good talking about Bob Odenkirk's perspective on comedy and stand up. So I just try to find anything he's done. It's always
Okay.
good. He's just got that quality of presence that people like. And yeah,
Yeah.
he had yeah. But
It's
why did you bring it up?
because that whole show is funny down to the most subtle points.
Hmm.
Like I'm just really respect the detail that goes into that show.
Hmm.
And from the photography is fantastic. And the way they use photography is funny.
Hmm.
The element of surprise is the main function of comedy. It's like, and music too, but like Chappelle talked about how Thelonious Monk, was his favorite musician because it was like the way that he ended every song with a surprise note, kind of, and like it was like every song kind of a joke, and he was always surprising people with the way he played. So he's like the most humorous, and he is. If you ever watch a Thelonious Monk documentary, that you can find, watch it because it's a fascinating guy. Um, but yeah, there's these kind of share the same. All art forms sort of share that, like you need to be a bit surprised. You can't, but
Yeah,
jokes, comedy especially, it's about the element of surprise in it.
yeah. If there's no surprise, then what are you even doing it?
So I respect that show. Why is Bob Odenkirk um, I don't see him doing any stand up. So like,
No, I think he did it for a bit early in his career, but he had said that he didn't like the idea of repeating material, having like a set and going around. It's like he does something, it's funny, and he likes to do it and move on and do a variety of other things. That's why he got involved in improv and sketch comedy. But even then, with improv, he was even saying that he doesn't necessarily respect improv as like a it's more of like a side dish and not a meal. Well, he described it in this one book as a parlor trick that anybody can learn, and you use it for as like a writing tool, and then it's all about the sketches and stuff. So that's why he went more into the acting, the sketch work, and also his ability to do like caricature, like the way he uses his voice and his there's a he's clearly an intelligent person, so there's a lot of nuance that he can express just in his acting, which is why that Saul character was so interesting. Which is why it a comedian can be such a great actor because they understand subtlety and detail. And then Vince is a good comedic director. That's why like Better Call Saul was almost more entertaining than Breaking Bad. Dare I say it? But I think a lot of people actually kind of agree. It was he had already refined his chops some, and it was the timing was good, the way the use of music and stuff like that. Um, I'd say if anybody's trying to study any kind of art, you can look at an adjacent art form and look at how they use detail and still learn something about your own art form. Like, for example, the master class that Werner Herzog did. Remember they had those master class things you can get?
right.
Well, like the third lesson in Werner Herzog's class on directing, he's telling you to go read this book called The Peregrine, this nonfiction book where this guy follows a peregrine falcon throughout the moors in Britain, and it's all just detail. He's talking about the feathers of the bird and the wind and the coloration of it, and then like the daytime and the way it all feels, and just all the setting and stuff like that. And if you're going to be a director, you should be just mastering all that detail because that's all that life is just this blast of details in every single moment.
Yeah. Uh,
Um, isn't that fucking deep? Oh, and I should turn on that
Herzog.
fountain behind me.
Yeah. Let's just make more noise. Can you just get some like breadcrumbs and just have all the birds come like, down onto the table?
I could. The crows. I've been feeding the crows around here. Sometimes when they see me outside, they were like bah! Telling their buddies, the dude who throws out almonds is here. But I don't always feed them. You gotta be like the crows. You gotta be kind of inconsistent. I think they respect it.
I would never feed a crow
Why not?
because then they'll come back. It's like a
Good.
cat. You
Yeah,
want
you
more
want them to
crows
come back.
around?
Hmm.
What are they good
Yeah.
for? They psychedelic?
Yeah.
They might
Yeah.
be.
Well, if you've done as many hallucinations as I have, and you like earthing every morning, then you'll understand that the crows are a mediary between land spirits and the apparent physical world. So if you want to make the land spirits happy, you got to make the crows happy,
You're
and then
only
they'll.
half. You're only half kidding. Maybe
That's
60.
right.
Maybe 40%.
I'm probably not kidding at all.
Um,
I should open up this door. I have a mountain. I have a big painting in my bedroom. It's a puja table of a mountain god from it's Korea, a Korean mountain god painting. They're like sacred holy paintings. This monk gave it to me at a monastery. So they just had these extra paintings, and I really liked. At every Korean monastery, there'll be these little huts dedicated to the mountain god, and that's it's like older than Buddhism, but they like it's related to like Korea's shamanic past. But they even then they're like we're not going to get rid of the old shamanic past. Maybe I don't know if it's some kind of insurance or this is just a syncretization between shamanism and Buddhism, which Mahayana does. Um, so I've got this painting in my room, and I always look at it, and it's this old man. All the paintings always have the sanshin, just means mountain spirit. It's always this old man with like a aura around his head, and there's a big tiger by him, and the tiger represents nature, and he's like sometimes he's riding the tiger or sitting on it. where like if you fuck with nature, that tiger is going to come get you. If you take care of nature, then you're going to get the blessing of the old this this Senex figure, who will bestow blessings on you. So even if I'm feeding crows, even if no, there isn't some literal land spirits being happy by it. At the very same time, just that act just puts me in connection with my environment around me. So I don't have to think I'm just in this neighborhood and this is just a human settlement. It's just, nature never really fully goes away. It adapts to us. Um, and I think it's good to be connected with any environment you're in, even if you're in a city. Um, take care of the pigeons. You know, don't think rats are all. You see a rat dragging a pizza slice down the road or whatever. You can show it a little bit of respect, but that's getting even trippier. I mean, I tend to think of all life on the planet as like a single mind, and humans are, just another animal. But we tend to think our intelligence comes from us.
Mm.
I've yet to find a way to make that funny.
Okay. Yeah. You hit a few you
Anyways, the point is, I
hit a
feed the
few
crows.
psychedelic pinwheels.
That's right. Well, that's what I was doing when I quit stand up. I got even heavier into psychedelics and spirituality.
Right.
So,
So,
and now
can't
that I'm coming back to stand up, I'm like, all right, I got to tone that stuff down because people, for the most part, don't like hearing that shit. It's like
right.
it's just it's squirrely,
Can't
it's
stay
unasked for.
away is the name of the title of this show. Can't stay away because here you go. You become a fixture in Portland scene. You you become well known among comics, like the Andy Kindler of the neighborhood. Um, and you didn't go off to L.A. to write with Ian Carmel or join a sitcom with Ron Funches, but these were the guys with us at the time,
I
and
almost
almost. And I remember when everyone dispersed to L.A. or New York. Gabe Dinger, New York.
Dinger went to L.A.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, and he worked with Funches. He was writing with
Oh
Funches.
shit.
He still opens for him, so they're
Who am
going
I
through
thinking
together.
of? Well, there's some went to New York.
Tynan DeLong.
Yeah, DeLong
And he
did.
just made a movie recently, and it looks really interesting. I'd like to see it. It's like
Oh,
Dad
good.
and Stepdad. Tynan DeLong directed it. Tynan's
Okay,
hilarious. He's a great guy.
cool. Yeah, he was a very nice dude. I felt like he had a professional and high energy
Hmm.
thing going on. It's hard to compete, bring that to a place like New York and compete, but you got to find your way. Sounds like he's doing it. Um, so instead, you went and did monasteries, and you did some like grunt work, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
But yet, and then you struggled existentially, as I
yeah,
have, as many of us have. But you couldn't stay away from it. You had to do it.
yeah. Um,
Do you believe in a
I,
purpose, or do you just believe? Do you believe like your purpose is speaking through that impulse, or is it just something else, something more
um,
base?
I'm open to that idea that it's a purpose speaking through it because it was something that I felt like I was. I mean, I was kind of looking at like, all right, what career should I do or whatever. I'd done some IT stuff, but I'm not passionate about it. It's just something to make money. And you really and to compete in an IT world, there's a lot of people there who are really interested in that stuff. They're always up on, you know, new 0 day attacks and how they happened, and technologies and shit like that, and processing speed. I don't actually care about any of that shit. I like performance. I like having a good performance. I like being in front of a crowd. I like public speaking. I actually just kind of liked that. And So it was the beginning of 2022, and I had done an ayahuasca ceremony a couple weeks beforehand. I'd been visiting this monastery, and I was waiting to go back to the monastery, but the monks had COVID. Um, and I kind of wanted to go back to the monastery and just live there for a couple months and really just refine myself, get my energy better, and stuff like that. That's at least the story I had going. And then I saw there was an open mic happening nearby, and I was like, I wasn't doing much else. I was living at my parents' house, North San Diego County. And I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go watch. I'm gonna go check it out. But also I knew at the back of my head, I'm like, if I go up there and I have a good set, I'm fucked. I'm gonna have to keep doing this. And then I did, and it was like this, and it was really, and I wasn't doing older material or anything. I was just rambling about my life, and it was getting laughs, and it's good. Um, and then I did it again the next week, and then I started kept doing it, and then I was having good sets, and then I was asked to do a showcase, and then from there I was asked to do another showcase. But it was still like, even for most of 2022, I was still actually fighting it, doing comedy again, because I'd gone through a lot of emotional, mental pain from creating an identity around being a comedian and then having that identity taken away or giving it up, however you want to look at it. Um,
This is the key right here to me. I've been seeing this more clearly. I think a year ago I was in this like heart centered space, and it was how that was brought about is kind of odd in retrospect now, and the motivations behind it, and the story that I was telling myself at the time that motivated it.
mhm,
But still, I passed through that heart space, and much better for it. But there's a more grounded way of living, and if you're not in control of your not in control, the opposite of control, or not necessarily opposite, but just control is a word that refers a lot to ego loves having control over self-image. You think you're the best comedian, or um, you really want a specific future, or you want this or that out of a person in your life.
mhm,
All these things that we transfer energy to, and build hopes and dreams and identity with. Um, that shit is so delicate, like, and people can exploit the fuck out of that. Um, I'm pretty sure that's how you end up in whatever the Illuminati is in the entertainment industry, is because you're so desperate to have this identity that you're willing to be manipulated and do whatever it takes. If you have a different ethic on it, and you can't be turned into, and or you can't be turned into a megastar and abused and used, then you got to just kind of work really hard from the bottom up, and maybe if you're lucky enough you'll find a career in it.
yeah.
And from that we struggle a lot, because we run into money issues when we get stressed out. Our identity is really challenged. Is this really what I should be doing? Is this a waste of my time? Blah blah blah. And it can really, where all the pain is in that identity. So like, how to go on creatively and just enjoy that process, that seems to be the trick. Not worry
Mhm,
about the outcome.
yeah.
Do you feel
Uh,
like if you don't start getting, like, what happens if you're not getting substantial paid gigs or touring gigs or whatever, a bunch of podcast interviews going in the next couple of years? Is your identity going to be shattered, or are you willing to do this level, like, at that level for another 10 years, just doing it?
I am the threat of forming an identity around stand up. It's a consistent threat. Some people may see it as a non-threat, or maybe even as a necessity to have the willpower to create a business and take it seriously. But
Create a
I think
business, yes.
I think in the grand scheme of things, failing isn't bad. And again, I'm gonna have to get all fucking Ram Dass on you about this stuff, because I just don't believe necessarily, like, in death, and I believe in rebirth. I believe in karma. That spiritual identity is what the real task is. The comedy is actually good for developing that, because it's not easy, and you learn how to make a mask and use that mask, but not to identify with the mask. I think people will set themselves up for a lot of failure, where they might get a lot of that success, but that mask It's like the Jim Carrey movie, The Mask.
Yeah,
It's
so
like
we're gonna watch that.
it becomes fused to your face. You don't want that. You want to be able to take it on and off. You don't want that to be your core identity. And it might even be helpful for other people to see the person doing that, because we all need to kind of understand that. We're all operating on two channels. You have your mask that you have, your persona in society, and your interrelatedness and civilization, which is necessary for things to function. And then at the same time, you have this other identity, which is fundamentally mysterious. You only kind of understand it intuitively in the back of your head or in dreams or something, and it's been there your entire life. And you will be reacquainted with it at the moment of death. So, whatever, fuck it. If I'm a failure, then I don't care. I'm not going to quit. If I'm not popular, I don't
So
fucking
failure
care.
is relative to
Yeah.
the identity.
Yeah.
If there's
I
no
was a fail.
identity, there's no failure.
I was a failure when I was spiritual bypassing. I was trying to pick just one side of the equation, and I was even asking like some of these old Korean guys. I started doing this comedy thing, but do you think it's a problem? And they're like, no, it's not a problem. Sounds like fun. You should make videos and put them online. They're like telling me all the things I didn't want to do. Have you tried TikTok?
Yeah.
Stop it. I don't want to go on TikTok, but I'm probably gonna have to make one soon.
Yeah,
I'd
you
like to make
should. I know.
Yeah, I want to make a character-based TikTok because I'm getting
Right.
more comfortable, and I've been making a strictly online character that I'm enjoying, and I've written a lot of stuff for it. I just got to shoot more of it.
I just need to cut a slice out of every one of these episodes and put it up on TikTok. Like, it's dumb that I'm not. But everything
Yeah,
takes
fuck it.
time. Everything
Yeah,
takes
it does.
time, and that's the
Yeah,
tough part. And I'm
yeah,
balancing a
it's
lot of shit right now,
yeah, and
and
it's
that's how I
okay.
like
Yeah.
it. But it's how I like it. But it's. Have you ever broken your face? By the way.
No, have you?
Yeah.
You broke? Did you?
When you're talking about the mask, I was looking at my nose in this little section that I can see it. Sometimes it's funny, you get in the light on a camera, you can see.
Is your nose is broken
Yeah,
recently?
I broke my face, and it really in January, and it really
It's too
kind
bad.
of set off like it was like, I don't know. It sounds really obvious. It's like an obvious thing to say, that it knocked sense into me, that it made me go, what the fuck is going on, that I'm not like present enough to avoid that situation. Because it was just that. I wasn't present, and I missed something, and I crashed my bike and smashed my face. But it revealed a lot of like flaws in my life, and how um and also flaws in the system, but those are things I can't control. Health access for people who don't have jobs is like or just like full-time jobs. It's kind of just like shit. And yet you're probably one of these people with no, maybe you got California, but I don't need to get into your business. But like, if you're just floating around in this world, you really are susceptible. People get in. So security.
Mhm.
That's your identity. Your identity is, it partially satisfies that sense of security, but not in those physical ways like health access, food, a home to call your own.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, man. You're doing something. You're floating right now.
I've been floating
I'm
for years.
I'm kind of envious of it because I used to
Stuff,
do it.
and it's really weird how things just show up right on time. Like I'll get a place to go, or like a situation where like I can make some extra money, cash under the table. I have cash under the table work now. I work at my friend's record store. A
You
couple
just
days a
made
week.
it that you just made it the IRS, but you just broadcast your
Yeah, no,
tax evasion situation.
such small potatoes, you know.
That's who they're after
But
now.
yeah,
My
yeah.
tax
Well,
bill.
well, they have to make it look like it's the average person's fault that the government has problems instead of just taxing who they should be fucking taxing.
More or less.
Get all Bernie Sanders on you there, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a more pragmatic. I mean, if we're going to have this liberal democracy with income tax, it's really shitty how it's being distributed. That's for sure.
Yeah. No. I mean, I'm putting down roots here. I mean, I'm looking for work right now. I'm back in school to like finish my degree. Except all I need is just like one class, so I'm working to finish up the degree. I'm getting my old transcripts evaluated as thinking about going back to school for social work. Just toying with the idea. Although that does sound kind of draining and not very lucrative, of course, famously. Um, I'd
Yes.
also like to, but I when I want a job, I find a job. It's just a matter of willpower.
Building wealth is the strategy, I guess, that I'm trying to do. It's
Hmm.
been a tough year. 2022 was shitty.
No,
Um,
try, do.
but I mean, it's what I'm doing. But when you see your investments sort of slip and actually go down for the first time, you start going, "Fuck." My house value has gone down in the last year. My bank account has gone down. But my investments, which were not a lot, went down. But building wealth is the goal. We're not like, money is what you want. Like, that's what the security is, right? That's why we want like a career, so we can have the money, so we can have the retirement, so we can have the house, so we're not worried about things.
Get the power, get the money, get the women.
But a lot of people,
As Scarface said. And you're Scarface. Look at you got a
yeah.
little bit of a scar.
Can you see
Yeah,
that
yeah,
right
you get to
there?
be like, yeah, you got it eating pussy, right?
I should have made up stories instead
I
of this.
crashed my bike into a giant pussy and I had to eat my way out. You can say that.
Do I have permission?
No.
Uh, but I can
See,
without
I'm a
permission.
hack.
Um, he said pussy.
Yeah.
I forget what I was saying. I forget what I was saying.
Oh,
What was it?
it's fine. You were talking about building wealth and the importance of it, and this comes in with you're also wanting to be an artist and stuff like that. Make your money at art, make enough to build that kind of foundation and
Yeah,
stuff.
is it possible to sort of live poor but build wealth? That's what I'm trying to do. Live poor,
Um,
build wealth. That should be the book.
yeah. Um, well, yeah. You can live very frugally. You could be somebody who's like secretly rich or secretly putting things away while you live in a trailer in somebody's garage or in somebody's driveway or something.
What have you?
Um, what have you. I kind of like, yeah, I guess this is maybe just more of my craziness and maybe means my lifestyle is particularly dangerous, especially at my age. But letting go of some of that stuff, um, uh, like um, sadhana, spiritual practice, that kind of development, getting your energy right, getting your lifestyle right, getting really honest and authentic, and you know, loving yourself, not having to do things so you get external validation. That's a different kind of insurance. That's a different kind of foundation to build. And then, or old-fashioned faith is also a really good insurance. And I'm treating that as like a prerequisite to my grand wealth building plan. I mean, I'm good at saving money and putting it away, and I have a bit of a savings right now, which is how I'm able to, live this loosey goosey lifestyle. And I'm at a point where I'm about to start replenishing that savings. Um, yeah, it would mean that you've got to sacrifice. You have to sacrifice, having that house or having a bunch of stuff and a certain kind of car and certain kind of levels of comfort. If you can, be more Spartan in your lifestyle, then and be okay with that. I think that's also good because then you're not going to need to spend more money to be comfortable. More money, more problems. You know what I mean? Get used to having things be simple. It'll be easier going in this life. As the master used to say, the great way is not difficult for those without preferences. So think about how expensive our preferences are. Cut out the expensive preferences,
Yeah.
and
That's all that
also,
identity shit again. Preferences. Like, that's
yeah,
our whole
if I,
identity is built on preferences.
mhm,
It's like
yeah,
we're just a big tab on a fucking internet browser says,
if I could, yeah, um, preferences, yeah.
yeah.
Um,
We
Yeah,
but
you said what our identity is built on, and I was like, I'm gonna stop myself from a big old pseudo intellectual rant about what that even means. But yeah, the preferences definitely factor into it. Like especially in like a a capitalist kind of system. Not to sound like a staunch anti-capitalist. I just think our present version of it is predatory and unfair.
It's not.
But
It's perverted capitalism. It's my joke that nobody laughs at is that socialism, capitalism, the two greatest economic systems that nobody's tried.
mhm, yeah, I mean, because both are half true. I mean, every society is going to be kind of some combination of all of them, unless you just have a dictator involved. Um, I think
It is always what power and central control is always what corrupts any kind of simple system between people.
mhm.
But people are inherently corruptible. They're very
Yeah,
easy to corrupt.
I think every society is corrupt. Every civilization is bound to have corruption. Um, uh,
It,
Culture taken as a whole, usually, especially if you're in like kind of this massive civilization that we're in right now, it will be in some aspects like a wasteland. Joseph Campbell would always say that, the world is a wasteland. So, we shouldn't hold our breath about the system of government and things being the way they are from being perfected. I mean, the shittiness of our capitalist system you could just see it as just an immediate expression of universal entropy and or just how the jungle is everywhere. Nature is everywhere, and things are feeding off of one another, and you have to struggle to survive. And people who are ruthless bastards, just like animals that are ruthless bastards, tend to do well. But whatever. Um, Everything changes.
we are kind of, I don't know, are we just animals? I don't know what we are. We're different. But it is the same principle. And I was just talking about this with someone today about the world. Just to get into these spiritual narratives where it's like, oh, the divine feminine is moving in and the masculine has been but now the masculine is coming back, and then the we're elevating, and there's and that's why all this turmoil. But then the angels are going to come in, and then it's like, I don't know, man. I get a lot of woo woos that talk like that, and I just think it's the same throughout all of time because that's the realm we're in. It's like perfectly represented by the yin yang. It's you have equal opportunity in your life to.
That's your yin yang. Yeah, yin yang, bro.
Can I do it in a? It's funny. Do my shadow. I was doing that earlier with my shadow here. Um, but it's that we have every equal opportunity in life to become corrupted and sort of descend,
Mhm,
or and the same opportunity to apply our will to be good and ascend. So people are not inherently good. Human beings are inherently corruptible, and that's what makes it an interesting experience. That's where you get to practice your will.
mhm,
That's my view. And that explains a lot why the world's so fucked up, because we're not like people like to believe that people are inherently good, that like most people are
mhm.
good.
Yeah.
People are basically good, right? That's kind of what grandma says. But I think they're just inherently corruptible.
Mhm.
I
Well,
I'm being redundant at this point. So
yeah, the flesh. Yeah, the flesh is definitely corruptible. Especially if you're very seriously attached to, like we said, those preferences, like getting laid or getting really good food or getting attention and stuff like that, then yeah, that is what will make you corruptible. I mean, it'd be more interesting to study what makes you not corruptible. Um, then that would be like somebody who's, you know, really living a life of integrity. Then they might have some sacrifices in terms of social leverage or whatever, upward mobility, but if they don't sacrifice that same basic thing, then they're not necessarily going to be um, corrupted. Where you but yeah, your basic point is yeah, everybody. It's a constant battle. not become corrupted by this or that.
Um, we want to believe that we're good and that our intentions are good, but if we don't recognize that we're corruptible, how corruptible we are, my
Yeah.
favorite comedian was Lenny Bruce and still is. Um,
Mhm.
that's one of the things he would talk about is that he was hip to the fact that he was corruptible, so
Yeah.
he was able to then make jokes about all the corruption.
Yeah, because so much of what a society will be based on is these fixed ideas of good people and bad people. You got the good people over here doing the good things. You got the bad people over there doing bad things, and then people will become these very fierce, calcified moralists, and then that will be a great cover for doing evil things like institutionalizing racism and stuff like that. Because in the days of like redlining, the people doing it might think to themselves, "Well, I'm doing a good thing by keeping all the non-white people over here in this part of town or whatever," and then right there. They're acting on what they thought of as of good and evil. I'm trying to do good. I at the very end of that's a very blunt example of it, but yeah, generally thinking that there's good people and bad people, you recognize that you have the potential to be either. Then you're really on your way to becoming a real boy at that point. You're on your way to becoming an individual, um,
Right.
because that then you have developed the character and the consciousness to in every day and even in every moment to let go of things, to not be retributive and to not be so needy, to not need things from other people. Then you'll actually be a generative person. You'll be an asset to your surroundings,
And that
which
is
I would like to be. I think in the past I wasn't that way, and I was an egotist, and that's why I needed to stop doing comedy. It was good that things fell apart, and it's good that I didn't get what I wanted.
some of these people that are very successful are so because they somehow didn't have that egotistic, like they
Yeah,
were comfortable in their ego. You got to carry your ego. You got to be present. You got to be who you are and be comfortable with presenting that.
Shane Torres is a really good example of that. Somebody who's got some well earned, notoriety and success going right now in a good career. Early on, yeah, he was like he wasn't getting a whole lot of laughs out of the gate, and but he had something kind of like a vision board in his room, and he was getting very organized. He would do the same jokes at like different mics, and to other comics might be like, "Oh, he's not writing much." And like, "Oh, no, he is. He's testing this stuff out and getting it down so it's solid, so that when opportunities come, he's ready for it. He's got a solidly built out set." And that takes like some humility, delayed gratification, and uh,
And a certain personality that I don't think either you or I possess. Cannot.
right.
I don't think like I could go up on the mics and practice like that, and I don't think you can either. Like you need, and I actually wanted to
Well,
ask you this, like
if I glue on a mustache, I can put on a cowboy hat. Then
but
fuck
there's
it, I'll
still
do this all day.
spontaneity in the way you present it. Um, like I was going to ask you, how does your mood play into what you're going to do from night to night? So do you go, oh, I was going to do a set, but I'm not in the mood for that now. I'm going to do this character,
Yeah,
or
I
the
switch it up a
reverse.
lot. I switch it up a lot, especially if there's like a showcase coming up and it's maybe like a special event.
See, I think
Um,
that's a creative way of dealing with who you are,
yeah.
because I have a hard time performing. What if I'm not in the mood to do a live stream all of a sudden, but I scheduled to do it? Well, I got to still perform
hmm
this role. It's not performative in per se, but I got to get in the mood.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
if
yeah. There's always a way to make it fresh.
but if I'm delivering memorized jokes, the mood can really fuck with the way that comes out
hmm
and is delivered. But I've seen artists, musicians, and stand-up comics get up there, and their mood just instantly transforms to what is needed for the joke, and
Yeah,
that's really something. That's professionalism, I guess.
hmm yeah.
Yeah.
With practice, that happens. Yeah. If you go on stage and you're feeling stale and you think you can hide it, you can. Everybody can sniff out those vibes. So it'll be like, okay, if this isn't feeling fresh, what can I do to make it feel like that? And it's like, all right, let's set aside this my need to appear as perfect on this show coming up. What do I need right now to recapture that kind of feeling, get into a flow state, stuff like that? How can I let go, or how can I do something kind of stupid? Like there's this mic, and that's why I would do this experimental meta kind of shit, because very quickly my normal stand-up comedy kind of observational whatever storytelling stuff, that because I've always had issues with my personality, my persona, like not knowing how I come across to people, not knowing, sometimes even forgetting how I even look, and being surprised that people even recognize me. I feel like a lot of times like I'm a ghost, like I don't exist. And I think because of that, I will struggle with doing the straight stand up, the normal stand up, and then through that I will be like, I'll feel stale, and then I will go up on shows, and then I will bomb because I'm not feeling very motivated by it. And so what might seem to other people as like this big creative strength of, oh, he'll do these characters and stuff like that. I'm in a way doing that to alleviate another problem. So it's like I can kick the can down the road from improving that normal stand-up voice and that act, and do something which is kind of just like what seems like a stunt, but actually in doing that I am developing a voice, I'm developing an act, and at this point I'm like, I've learned to respect it. Like example, like a week or two ago, there's this mic. It's on Mondays. It's this place called the Lamplighter, and even if there's something of a crowd there, it's the way the room is set up, it just sucks laughs out, and it makes the place feel very dark and heavy and adversarial. And the very act of going up and trying to be funny makes you a piece of shit. As soon as you get on stage, you're a piece of shit for even being there. You better try really. You have to try hard to not try too hard, because they get a whiff of you trying, they're gonna hate it. It's like Boiler Room, but imagine Boiler Room like twice as long with the audience even further away and a big obstruction in the middle of the room between the audience and you. It's like, but with the same ugly blue lighting. Um, and so
That's like that's
I had
like
this
evil.
toad
Yeah, yeah.
I had this toad puppet that I've been meaning to use, and I like doing this stupid British voice, and I'm like, hello everybody, I'm your friend. So I'm like hiding, and I'm trying to have the toad just poking holes in the seriousness of the show. And I just had a few bullet points. I didn't really have much of a set. I was just winging it. But I'm like, this is a different kind of muscle that I'm working on, is going into an environment where everything feels so super serious, and then doing something which, if you told someone about it in anticipation of it, they'd say that sounds like a really fucking stupid idea. It sounds embarrassing. Good. Go do the silly and embarrassing thing and just go all in on it. And it actually turns out to be just a lot of fun. And I ended up being like, okay, now that mic was actually a time well spent. Because I got to try something out, and now I can do something more with it. Maybe I will keep using this stupid toad puppet in that voice. I kind of like the angle. It's like a little cute toad who's lonely, but he's actually a covert narcissist who manipulates people to get attention, and he triangulates. So I get to use, like on YouTube
You
and
get
all
to
these, like,
be your dark side, your fucking needy
I get
self.
to I get to be or the dark side of some women I've dated in the past. I'm basically talking about my exes. The toad is me. It is me doing
Processing
stand up
your
material.
exes.
I am processing my life. I'm telling my story, but I'm doing it through this I don't know, different channel. Yeah,
I saw
like,
that. The only thing missing was in that video was you needed light on the son of a bitch. You
yeah,
need,
because it's bad lighting.
yeah,
Yeah, I
you
only
need
did
light.
in the middle of the set. Somebody did actually move a spotlight and put it
Yeah.
on, and I didn't even know that was a possibility in the room. And it was so
Um,
dumb. And I'm like, fuck it, I'll put it on my Instagram.
yeah.
I like to do it again. I should probably take that original video down, because yeah, the quality is shit. All my videos so far have been pretty bad quality. That is a thing I really need to work on.
Yeah.
I have an iPhone 7, which it looks like a fucking Polaroid compared to modern newer cell phones. So
I am using the same phone.
yeah, it's
Um,
great. There's nothing
it's
wrong with it.
I'm so tired of being tricked into more phones. If everyone stayed with a 7, everyone's pictures would look
Everything would have
be
been
a
fine.
utopia.
If we all had iPhone 4s, we would all keep them going like they keep classic cars going in Cuba.
Right.
Like Um,
Actually, those were easier to like work on. Um,
Probably, yeah.
um,
But
yeah,
early
that's fun.
iPhones probably also you could probably take the thing apart with just a suction cup and then work on the processor and stuff. But that's just the nature of things. We have to have new. There always has to be new models and things coming out because economy depends on it,
Yeah, you
and
can't just
activity.
buy a phone and
No,
have it for 25 years. You
no,
gotta.
we need, yeah, we need a bunch of we need to keep employed those child slaves in Madagascar that are crawling through tunnels with no light so they can mine
Lithium
mica,
and whatever.
lithium. It was a mica mine, I think, is in Madagascar. Madagascar, although it does have a
What's
lot of rare
mica?
earths. Mica,
Yeah, what is it?
it's one of those. I don't think it's a rare earth, but it is used in different industries. Um, it's a. I don't know if it's on the periodic table of elements. It's a freaking rock, bud. I don't know,
Periodically, it
bud.
is.
It's a fucking. Get out of here, bud. Is there a Philly accent? Do you know how to do one?
I'm terrible at
Also,
accents, man.
I know Nick Kroll did a
Uh,
really good one on his Uncle
wooder.
Kroll show.
We say wooder instead of
Water,
water.
water.
Wooder. Um,
You go to Wawa.
Wawa. Yeah. Yeah. It's
Dude,
like
Wawa's rule, man. Those
hoagie. Hoagie. Go get a hoagie. Like
almost
yeah.
Bostonish.
Well, it's that there's like four, at least four versions of the Philly accent, just like there are New York different borough accents. Um,
I'm from Queens. I'm from Manhattan. That
right. Yeah. You got South Philly, which is more of an Italian Jersey twist. Northeast Philly, which is like a Bostonian fist twist. That's
fist.
Bostonian fist.
Too late.
And then you have like Steve Simone, whatever, uh, uh, Delco County, which is pretty similar to the Northeast, actually. Style, sound, opposite sides of the city. It's I don't know. I don't mean to get carried away with that. The city is my accent actually is changing a little bit. Sometimes I slip, I can hear it. I'm like, oh shit. But that's cool. It's the first time in my life I was West Coast, where you if you speak properly out west, you don't have any accent.
Sometimes you get California. I still
Yeah,
can't say that.
somehow sophisticated people in California think this is how everybody talks.
It's just nasally. It's just the laziest way of talking. Yeah.
And if you have a
But
podcast, you talk like you do the groan.
yeah, I think to like probably to British people, they can hear things that like American is the, and then to us we just probably sound like
it's fun to listen to Europeans do an American accent because they are trained. There are people training American accents, and
Mhm.
for sure, it's kind of embarrassing. You're like, oh fuck, that's how you hear us. It's really sad. Like,
Yeah, you just need
well, fuck you
yeah.
anyway, because we still have the most dominant fucking language. So you're all trying to imitate us anyway. Forget it.
And
For
French.
now anyway, until
Yeah,
America is no longer first. America second.
is that
That's
what you
gonna be
want?
my platform. That's my platform. China first, America second.
You
I
fucking sell out.
I want my phone $200 cheaper. Damn it.
You sell out. Go fall off a bike, you fucking unpatriotic
Say it in the Western character. No, just kidding.
Scarface.
Um. Okay. So it's been an hour 13. I don't know. I think I could.
Yeah, anything else you want to know
Let
about
go.
the comedy thing or stuff like that?
Well,
Is
we
that
still haven't
supposed to be
figured
the
out
main?
exactly what reincarnation is, but maybe we'll get to that next time.
Well, there is a distinction between reincarnation and rebirth.
Oh,
Yeah, reincarnation might be like, oh, I have like some kind of like soul identity thing that keeps showing up from life after life. And I used to be a fire priest in ancient Atlantis, and then I was Cleopatra's consort or whatever, blah, blah, blah. People like to do that with, which is like still fixed in the idea of
an
this timeline
identity.
and also just the historical identity of like the planet Earth, dinosaurs, ancient Rome, stuff like that. I think what I'm subscribing to is more, perhaps probably even more mystical of rebirth is more of like, when you go from one dream to another and you'll be in a dream and it's very it can be very different from this reality. Like I had a dream once I was on an alien planet and I looked at my hands and they were green alien hands with like a finger missing. And I like saw a magazine with like a fashion magazine and it had an earthling and one of these aliens like as a couple. And
It's
and
like
in that that's like a completely different world. And I think in every single life, like you right now in this life, this is called Earth, and there's all this stuff in history. This just this dream, depending on what you're attached to, what you're obsessed with, that is like an algorithm that interfaces with a larger, more mysterious karmic cycle. So when you die, those attachments they create the condition of a rebirth. So the whole thing, it's like like these Amazon Web Services and stuff like that. Netflix uses it. They have these virtual desktop instances. So like I could have a computer, I could have a desktop program running within a desktop program, and it will build itself up depending on specifications that I give it, and then it all collapses and then it rebuilds again. But it can rebuild again now as a completely different operating system with completely different instructions in it. Collapses and comes back up. And that's the rebirth theory. So that gets rid of this idea that there's this timeline or that there's this essential identity that keeps carrying over from lifetime after lifetime. Really, what's being reborn are these preferences. If you, which is why the goal of nirvana, in old Buddhism, if there even is such a damn thing, or if such thing is even necessary, would be to release all those attachments, because then you don't get reborn. But what's the fun in not being reborn? I mean,
well,
why do we want to stop existing so badly? I think we just probably want to go back to the wonder of childhood. That's really what we're after, is just unmitigated, undiluted access to wonder.
yeah, I don't
That's
know.
that
I
was
don't
all over
know.
the place. But
It's
anyways, yeah, that you were just trying to politely have an aside, and I took it as an opportunity to, you know,
elongate, protract.
elongate. Yeah, I like exploring these things out loud.
I
I might have to start my own
I
damn
might as well
podcast.
respond to it. Might as well
Yeah,
respond
I'd
to
like to hear it. Yeah,
it. Well, first of all, I got no clue.
yeah,
Uh, and in sometimes I think you're just accessing other you're just accessing something else. You
I'm
know,
accessing weed.
like like when you
I'm
have that
accessing
past life
weed when I wake up.
regression, I'm accessing it too in about 10 minutes. But when you're if you're having a past life regression, which I've never had one, that's the thing. Like there's people that have that tell themselves, "Oh yeah, I know that you were my
Yeah,
you're my wife now, but you were my best friend in Atlantis or whatever." Um I've never had a past life regression, so I don't know. Now,
yeah,
somebody tried to do one on me, and she brought it to some pretty fascinating realms, far beyond Earth, and connected to my purpose and whatnot. And that's fun. I got something out of it. I enjoyed what she said. Tried to apply it. Um, but I've never had one. So whatever it is, but okay, except for when I did Salvia Divinorum, I actually did have a feeling like I was just about to flip timelines into something. And I think Ari Shafir talks about how he did it, Salvia. He did it on a podcast, and you can watch him all fucked up on Salvia. But while he was in that world, or while he was all fucked up on camera, he was in another world and he lived an entire lifetime.
really.
That's what he said. Um, so when I did Salvia, I just got this flicker of a different world and I got right back into my world. But I
Mm.
felt the sensation of entering the body, and it was like notably like painful, like being compressed into this. So reality, that was the most, without being fucked up on drugs or anything. I've never had anything that resembles a past life regression. So all I'm saying is I have no idea what that energy is or where it goes, what consciousness is, but it goes somewhere and seems to go somewhere and
Yeah,
have the ability to uh, to go beyond the body, and whether or not there is an identity that carries over, and like you're in this game where you have to extinguish the flames by checking off every preference in your web browser
Mhm.
and living the most boring life that you can't access.
I think if done right, the life could be exciting. It's just, can you let go of things? Are you gonna let go of trying to make things happen that you've enjoyed in the past, and then trying to keep away things that are unpleasurable, like craving aversion?
Right.
Um, yeah, it's because then, yeah, sometimes, like, as this Polish monk who's basically my teacher, I guess, I don't know. He says, when it's time to fuck, fuck. But when you're not fucking, don't you let it go, and you're not thinking of it. It's time to eat a sandwich. You're eating the sandwich. I mean, that's the Zen thing. It's like when I'm doing dishes, I'm just doing dishes. I'm not doing. There isn't some big story and stuff like that. And so, fucking or being famous or having your fame taken away or whatever, or even dying, you get rid of the ideas of holy and ordinary. You drop that. Everything's holy and everything's ordinary at the same time. As well as letting go of that good and evil stuff. Anyways, but yeah. Um, but even if one
If
does have preferences that do create a rebirth, I mean, whatever. You have all of eternity. Where are you gonna go?
Yeah, I have no idea.
There's nothing to. There's ultimately, it's okay.
So when I set out to do the Not a Podcast show, that's I don't know if that's ego or not. Just as when you do comedy, but it's
You're
some
but you also made like an arts festival thing back in the day. You like to put on shows.
yeah. And
You're a
I was on
person.
Kbu. You remember I was on Kbu.
You're on cable. Yeah,
And
you like to connect. You're naturally somebody who likes to connect with other people,
that's how I feel about it.
and that's
I,
just kind of what you do. It's just like, you know,
right.
I think of like an example of like a gopher will dig a hole in ground, and then the ground that comes up from the gopher or the mole digging, there'll be like a pile of aerated loam, and now a certain kinds of plants can grow in that certain kind of thing. You're just doing your digging, but in you doing your digging, you're actually maybe consciously or unconsciously creating favorable conditions for other people for their own digging. A
It's true.
worm going through the ground in a garden is actually helping the plants that's there. So you're doing your part as a creature within an ecosystem
It's
by
funny.
making this. Yeah, and you can just let go,
Word.
and you're like, I'm just doing. It's your dharma looks like this.
I appreciate it. Uh,
Yeah, and I appreciate you having me on. It's cool.
yeah, that's a perfect way to end the show right there.
Sure,
Let's dig on out of here.
dig it.
Dig it, dig. All right, buddy. I appreciate you being here. Where do we want to find you?
I'm doing an arts festival this weekend, so everybody should get in their cars and go out to the soon-to-be famous Jacumba Hot Springs, um,
Are
right by
you
the
the one
border of
that's about to
Mexico.
make it famous?
No, I mean the town Jacumba Hot Springs. It's just because my friends live there and they want more tourists to come to Jacumba Hot Springs. Um, but the hot springs should get a little hotter. They were pretty cold last time I was there.
Hmm.
And but yeah, there's a festival out there. I'm getting better at but to seriously answer your question. Generally, I'm just using Instagram right now. My handle is CVRicks, CVRICKS, and
But the talk is ticking on TikTok. You're going to be there.
yeah, unless part of me is also like, I don't think it will really get banned. But if it were to get banned, there would be an imitator would quickly show up, and that's a good time to get in on something. When like when Vine ended, and then TikTok was new, you hurry up and you jump. You become like an adopter at the right time of the new medium. That can really help a lot of people. There's some people that really got in at Twitter right when it was hitting a cultural tipping point. So TikTok has already hit its cultural tipping point. So who knows if you know? Sure, make one anyways. But also, I'm right now keeping my eyes open for what the next fresh medium is going to be, and then if I could adapt my voice to that, I think that would be a good move. Right now, just Instagram though, and if I go on TikTok, I'll be posting about it.
Just
I just generally think it's like a man,
Rewind.
a man my age who is on TikTok. I mean, you better be already famous,
No, that's
or
that
something,
identity shit
or
talking
you.
again right
No, I
there.
just feel like it's for younger people. It's just like,
I think it's
like
it's
fucking
true.
creeps. It's like,
It's
this seems like it's well, whatever.
yeah, it's all for everybody. Facebook's is just the one place where nobody's hanging out anymore, except for people who don't hang out anywhere.
Yeah, grandmas, dogs.
Uncles. All right. Are we done?
Yeah,
Let's do this again. And with have I would like I still want to have like another person. I don't know why. I just feel like another person to bounce these ideas off in a conversation with you.
yeah,
If you can think of
yeah,
anybody, you go ahead and let me know.
yeah.
Would you?
Okay,
Would you?
sure. Yeah,
All right. All right.
get my
Enjoy your
friend
night,
together.
man.
Thanks. You too.
Everybody check him out. That's Christian Ricketts. See you
All right.
soon, dude.
See ya. Thanks, Sean.
Oh, I kind of slightly clipped the end of that moment. Um, Here we are, the end of the Not a Podcast show. A couple people jumped in on the old YouTube stream. Did not chat. Sorry, you did not. Those who are checking this out after the live, he rejoined. What is he doing? Those who jump in and check out this thing after it went live, I thank you. And you're still welcome to leave your comments, subscribe, check out those links in the bios. Go to at CV Ricks on Instagram. And don't forget about me. I won't forget about you. Peace out.